Good morning, it's Monday the 20th of July and you're watching Europe Today, your morning dose of European news and analysis here on Euronews. I'm Marit Gwyn and I'll be with you throughout this week. Coming up today, Spain have been crowned World Cup champions for the second time in their history after defeating Argentina 1-0 in extra time last night. Barcelona striker Ferran Torres scored the winning goal in the 106th minute against a 10-man Argentina after Enzo Fernandez received a red card. The Spanish squad will celebrate the victory in Madrid tonight after a night of partying across Spain. We'll be bringing you the atmosphere from Madrid. And the US has continued to strike Iran for the 9th consecutive night, with another US serviceman killed, this time in northern Iraq, during the controlled detonation of a downed Iranian drone. A Kuwaiti power and desalination plant was attacked by Iran for the second time in 2 days on Sunday, raising fears of a widening conflict. We'll have the latest from our correspondent in the Middle East. And Andy Burnham is set to become the UK's new Prime Minister today, taking over from Keir Starmer. He's tasked with uniting a fractured party and fending off a growing threat from the far-right Reform UK party led by Nigel Farage. Burnham has also vowed to decentralise power away from London. We'll have more analysis. But first this morning, we're taking you straight to Madrid. A dominant Spanish side was held by Argentina to a goalless draw during 90 minutes of play in last night's World Cup final. But despite Argentina's grit and resistance, Spain's striker Ferran Torres broke the deadlock in added time with the only goal of the match. That was after Argentina's Enzo Fernandez was shown the red card in stoppage time. So let's cross over now to Madrid and to our correspondent, Maria Munoz, who's standing by for us there. Maria, good to see you. What a night for Spain. Give us a sense of the atmosphere there this morning.
Good morning, Marit from Spain. Well, people are still celebrating on the streets. They are being celebrating all night long. I was coming to the office this early morning and they were shouting, they were singing. They are all very happy. We've seen that Spain has gotten better and better match after match. They started with a draw against Cape Verde, but then they improved. They showed they are a collective team, something Luis de la Fuente has insisted on. They are not just some bright players. They are not just one single player who is the star. They are a family. Same philosophy that made the former national team champions in 2010. They have shown they have improved against Belgium and against one of the main favorites in this tournament, as it was France. Yesterday there was one team playing football and another one trying to prevent them from playing. Spain tried to score 20 times. The result is quite short after all those occasions, more than 20 they had. We may have witnessed last Messi match with the Argentinian squad. He was very sad. We could see him crying. But what can I say? We are very happy here. Yesterday, we were in the fan zone with the fans celebrating our triumph in this World Cup. Let's take a look.
El partido ha estado súper emocionante.
The match was incredibly exciting right until the last moment when we secured the victory. We beat Leo Messi. Ciao, Leo Messi! The match was very good, but the referee was very Argentinian.
Espectacular, muy bueno, sabroso.
Spectacular, very good. We came all the way from Puerto Rico. We arrived today to see the game. We wanted to be here at the heart of it all. We wanted to watch the game from Spain and see the world champions.
¡Campeones mundiales!
Yo soy español, español, español.
Maria, briefly, we know that there are plans for celebrations in Madrid also later tonight.
Yes, the team will arrive around 1 p.m. to Barajas Airport. Then they will go visit the royal family. And then around 6 p.m., the real party will start with a bus parade with all the players offering the trophy to the fans. They will arrive around 9 p.m. to Cibeles, where the party is going to start with concerts and with all the happiness they've brought to us from America.
Okay, Maria Munoz in Madrid for us this morning. Thank you, and I'm sure we'll see more of those celebrations on Euronews throughout the day. But we're moving to the Middle East next, where the US has carried out the 9th consecutive night of strikes against Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guard has vowed not to let a single drop of oil or gas pass through the Strait of Hormuz. For more, we can cross over to our correspondent Adel Halim, who's in Qatar for us. So, Adel, more strikes overnight, and the current spiral of violence is showing no signs of subsiding.
Good morning, Marid. Yes, the conflict continues to escalate. The U.S. has completed a 9th consecutive night of strikes inside Iran, targeting military command centers, air defense systems, and missile sites. Meanwhile, Iran has responded with attacks of its own. The air defense systems have been activated across the Gulf, with Kuwait intercepting drones, Bahrain sounding sirens, and Jordan reporting missile interceptions. The U.S. has also confirmed a 3rd military death over the weekend. A service member was killed in Iraq in what it called a controlled detonation of a downed Iranian drone. This follows the deaths of 2 U.S. troops in Jordan. So despite repeated calls for diplomacy, both sides are continuing to exchange fire, and the conflict is spreading across the region. Marit?
And Adel, we also know power and desalination plants in the Gulf are being increasingly targeted. How much of a worry is that in the region?
Absolutely. One of the biggest concerns now is that critical infrastructure is increasingly being caught up in the fighting. We've seen allegations of attacks on power plants and water desalination plants in the Gulf. Those facilities provide drinking water to millions of people. If essential infrastructure becomes a regular target, the consequences extend well beyond the battlefield and start to affect everyday life. We're also seeing the conflict spread geographically. As we've heard, it's no longer just about the U.S. and Iran, where Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait have come under attack. That's why countries like Qatar and Pakistan continue to push for de-escalation and diplomacy. But at the moment, the military action is moving much faster than any kind of diplomacy.
Indeed. Adel, for us in Doha, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed there. Now, we're moving to the UK next, where Andy Burnham, the former mayor of Manchester, will today become Prime Minister, taking over from Sir Keir Starmer. Burnham is also expected to name his cabinet members today. For more, I'm joined live now by Tim Bale, who is a politics professor at Queen Mary University of London. Tim, really good to have you with us this morning. So listen, Burnham is promising big change, the biggest change in UK politics in 40 years, he says. How crucial will his cabinet appointments now be in setting the tone for his government and ensuring he hits the ground running?
Well, I think you're right to say they will set the tone. There's been quite a lot of speculation over the weekend and indeed the last week, particularly about the position of Chancellor of the Exchequer, the key finance ministerial position. It looks like it's slipped away from Andy Burnham's key ally, Ed Miliband, who is seen by some to risk spooking the markets, to coin that cliche, and instead go to Shabana Mahmood, who is seen to be more on the right of the Labour Party and probably will cause fewer ructions in the market. That means Ed Miliband will probably go to Foreign Secretary. But it is absolutely clear that he does have to signal a departure from what's gone on before. Otherwise, in some ways, there is no point replacing Keir Starmer with someone else. So, yes, today will be very important. You don't get a second chance to create a first impression. So everything about today, the choreography, and indeed the choreography for the next week, I think, will be absolutely crucial.
You mentioned the importance of the Chancellor and this resetting what many would call a broken economy, but he's also prioritising this push for more devolution, or the idea of delegating power to the regions, even creating a number 10 North, he says. How much of a shift in thinking is this for a UK Prime Minister?
I'm not sure it's as big a shift as people think, actually. Prime Ministers for a long time, whether they be Conservative or Labour, have been talking about the over-centralisation of the UK and particularly the over-centralisation of the UK economy. Even under the Conservatives, you saw an outpost of the Treasury being created in Darlington in the northeast of the country. So in some ways, I think this is more about mood music than it is necessarily about substance. That said, obviously, given that some of our more peripheral regions feel that they've been left out from whatever growth there has been in the British economy, it is important that we spread the wealth out from the southeastern London, where it is at the moment concentrated. And that obviously has a particular knock-on effect for the kind of jobs that are available in those areas. So I think devolution is important, but I don't think it is the magic bullet that some, and indeed possibly Andy Burnham, suggest it is.
Very, very briefly, Tim, if I may, just to close, we're watching intently here from Brussels, of course. Do you expect a big shift in Burnham's EU and foreign policy compared to the Starmer government?
Very briefly, no. Strong support for Ukraine, trying to handle an erratic US president and trying to move towards closer relationships with the EU, but in some ways, unfortunately, not really making a big move on the single market or the customs union. There'll just be incremental moves until possibly the next parliament if Burnham gets re-elected.
OK, thank you so much for that analysis for us from London. But we're moving on now, because last Friday, the European Commission unveiled proposals aimed at making European banks more competitive. It's widely seen as a move to close the gap with US rivals. Well, on Friday, our correspondent Sasha Vakulina caught up with the European Commissioner for Financial Services, Maria Luis Albuquerque, and started by asking her what impact she hoped the proposals could have for European citizens and businesses.
Banks are very important in the European economy. They're important for citizens, they're important for businesses, for financing. So we need them to be efficient and to work well. We have found a few problems which need to be addressed, and we have, with this diagnosis, also indicated the way forward. So it is about making our banking sector better prepared to support citizens, businesses, and the Europeans' ambitions and vision for the future.
And what is it the key aspect here when it comes to the Europeans, to ordinary savers? You focus on this category. Yes. What is the key?
People typically go to banks for one of two things. Either they need to borrow money for a mortgage, for whatever objective. They should have banks which are efficient but also competitive, so that people can compare different offers and choose the one which is best. But also people save money and put money aside for a rainy day, for a pension, for whatever reason. And banks are often the agents, the intermediaries that people go to. So the more efficient the banks are, the more competitive the system is, the better will be the offer of such opportunities for our households wanting to save and invest their money.
When we look at the world of big powers, does Europe need more cross-border mergers, meaning probably fewer but bigger European banks and therefore more consolidation?
Yes, we need a few big banks. But if we compare the average size of even the bigger European banks and our competitors, who also operate in Europe, by the way, namely American banks, the size is completely different. And for some areas of business, that scale really matters. We have identified the fragmentation of the banking sector, or the incompleteness of the single market in banking, as the main problem holding us back in terms of competitiveness. That is actually the bigger problem we have discovered. This makes it very inefficient. This perspective of looking at member states in isolation is actually very costly to the European economy. I think that member states, they come from the past where we looked at this from a national perspective, but I think we have all realized that our true competitors are other blocks. So it's Europe together with our other competitors. And that requires that change in mindset. Of course, it's difficult. It's a significant change, and there is a normal resistance to change. But I think the fact that there is awareness and the conscience that the costs of not moving are increasing, I think we have now better conditions to deliver on those objectives.
The report argues that Europe's banks need to take more risk if they are to finance growth and compete globally. Where do you draw the line between encouraging certain risk-taking and avoiding the mistakes that led to previous financial crises?
It's not banks that need to take more risk. it's the whole Europe that needs to have a different approach to risk. So because of how we are, I don't know, also because of cultural elements, but because of some inefficiencies in our system and still the legacy of the previous crisis, we focused a lot on reducing and trying to eliminate risk. But if you eliminate risk, you eliminate opportunities. We know that risk-taking is indispensable for innovation, for economic growth. So what we are talking about here is a recalibration. Now, we need to adjust the parameters of the framework to say that some more risk-taking should be considered in the system as a whole when it comes to financing certain activities. But this is the political discussion. How much risk are we comfortable to allow into the system, preserving financial stability? Because financial stability is a precondition. Without financial stability, nothing else works. So we need to find the right balance. What we are talking about here is rebalancing, allowing some more risk while preserving financial stability. It's a recalibration. It's not going back to the past, because we have learned the lessons and we are much better prepared to manage risk in a sound and prudent manner now.
Now, Europol, the EU's law enforcement agency, has said that online ecosystems are reshaping terrorist threats. In a report released last week, the agency also said that violence has become a means of gaining identity and belonging for a number of perpetrators, and that this creates a more complex threat across Europe. To discuss those findings in more detail, I'm joined now by Anna Siobri, head of the European Counter-Terrorism Centre at Europol. Good morning, Anna. Great to have you with us. So your report states that the lines between established terrorist ideologies and other forms of violent extremism are being blurred. Why is that a reason to be worried?
Yeah, we need to follow the development, and this is also what we have been describing since, if we go back the 10 years since Europe experienced the wave of mass casualties and major attacks, and also when European Counter-Terrorism Centre was created. And since that, we have done these trend and situation reports to describe the development of the threat. And this year, we actually describe that the threat is persistent. It still exists, and it's a major threat against the European security. And the development, as you say, the blurred lines, it's because we are seeing an increasing number of different ideologies that are diversified ideologies, also not only the traditional ones.
So you mentioned diversifying ideologies, but what would you say, based on your analysis, is the biggest threat that Europeans should be concerned about right now?
We need to understand that the threat is persistent. If you go back to 2025 and look at the numbers of arrests, you have almost 500 arrests, terrorist-related arrests in the European Union. This shows that the threat is persistent. We also see that the major threat comes from jihadism, and that's also the most lethal threat. But we also need to understand the development of these new ideological platforms that are also popping up.
Finally, I want to ask you, because the report also points to more lone actor attacks. Doesn't that make preventing or addressing the threat almost impossible for law enforcement?
Yeah, that's one of the challenging elements that we are also pointing out, because, of course, if you have a lone actor using simple methods, and that doesn't actually require a lot of preparation, but they are radicalized online, and it also this provides a lack of possibility for law enforcement to intervene in timely manners.
Okay, Anna Siobri for us, speaking to us from Europol. Thank you so much for your time this morning, but that's all we have time for today, I'm afraid. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back at the same time, same place tomorrow, so we hope to see you then. In the meantime, take care.